So there has been another crazy theory running around the fandom today that I just wanted to talk about. And that theory is that we may have already met the 16th Doctor. The 16th Doctor is in fact Varada Sethu, aka Belinda Chandra. But before we get into the theory, do me a favour and subscribe if you're new. That would be greatly appreciated. We are trying to get to 30,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and any support would be greatly appreciated in helping us get to that goal. But with that said, let's get right into it. So, this theory's origin is a little bit hard to track. I've seen people kind of saying it as a joke for a little bit, but I think the main kind of catalyst for this theory, or really making it big in Doctor Who discussion, is this quote. So, according to Doctor Who Production News, I'm not sure if this is the March 8th, 2024 scene that will live forever in Doctor Who history, but the slate says it was filmed on that date. So this comes from a quote from, I believe, Doctor Who magazine. But forward isn't easy. When the production team is being pulled hither and thither, here we are now. Snouts deep in season 2. Today, March 8th, 2024, we're shooting a scene that will live forever in Doctor Who history. And for once, that's no exaggeration. I mean for bloody ever. Remember this date and nod in agreement next year. And as we can see in the picture, it has Varada Sethu as Belinda Chandra, seemingly piloting the TARDIS. Now, we've already seen a little bit of that in the trailers for episode 5, but yeah, you can see here, 8th of March 2024, and it is her piloting the TARDIS. But of course, there's other reasons why people believe this theory. My friend Jess said back in March, they had a wild theory that Belinda is the 16th Doctor with a chameleon arch, regenerating into a body based on Monday Flynn, as a reminder not to be a warrior. They can't land in her time again because the TARDIS is trying to prevent a paradox. The nurse is foreshadowing, which would be a very, 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 very cool idea. The idea that the nurse and the nurse title is kind of a hint towards her true identity. This would make some level of sense to me, as I feel like if the Doctor was to take on a human identity, a nurse would make a lot of sense. Also consider the fact that we know that Miss Belinda Chandra was aware of the TARDIS before the Doctor said its name. And she does say, let's go home to Gallifrey. And of course, as we know, with the way that chameleon arches work, whilst it does make them human, so that doesn't really contradict with anything we've seen so far, they do get little hints and flashes of their other life, kind of in their memories as things reawaken. Like, for example, the Derek Jacobi Master kind of getting flashes of, Time Lords of Gallifrey and the Master as these words get repeated to him, and obviously the fugitive Doctor, or Ruth at that time, kind of learning how to fight Jadoon randomly in these moments where their true identity is coming back to them. Again, it wouldn't be the first time that an incidental character was revealed to be a version of the Doctor. So, could it potentially be that that's what that is? Her basically saying, let's go home to Gallifrey, or remembering what the TARDIS is actually the result of her subconscious basically being like, oh my god, I remember this. Does that, however, mean, though, that her mum and dad aren't in fact real, but are instead like a cover story or something like that, potentially? Kind of similar to what Ruth had with that guy whose name I can't remember, who was her companion? Or could it be something more to do with the reality war? Maybe she's not the Doctor in our reality, but is instead the Doctor of another reality, potentially? And her crossing into our universe is kind of a result of the reality warping stuff going on in the finale. As I've said, we've seen the Doctor take on the face of previous side characters in order to teach him a lesson. The same thing happened, of course, with Caecilius and the 12th Doctor, and the 14th Doctor as well, just recently, was basically his way of telling himself, slow down, have a rest, essentially. So what if the Doctor taking on a form reminiscent of Monday Flynn is, in fact, a reminder not to be a warrior, but also not to lose faith, because Boom's whole episode premise is basically built around the idea of believing in faith, and so maybe that's what the Doctor's trying to tell him/herself in this case. It would be a wild plot twist, because it would be, as far as I can tell, the first time a companion travelling with the Doctor would then be revealed to then be the Doctor at a later point, but stranger things have happened. And also, if Ncuti Gatwa is leaving, it would be a pretty genius way to get around it, essentially seeding in another Doctor that we've already seen, albeit in a different role on screen. It would admittedly be funny because it would then be Varada Sethu's third role in Doctor Who, but to be fair, I mean, I could kind of see it. I can imagine her playing it more kind of sternly than Ncuti would, but I can definitely see potentially this working. The other idea would be maybe she could be potentially Romana or another Time Lord in disguise. To be honest though, if I have to be honest, as much as I think this theory is fun, similarly to the Saxon Master theory that I covered, I do hope that Belinda Chandra is just a normal person. Obviously I know that we have the added element of her having the face of Mundy Flynn, but that seems to me to be a rather secondary thing, like it's just a coincidence, and the Doctor almost uses that as justification for them to travel together. I think, as cool as a twist as it would be, and it would genuinely be like a jaw-dropping moment if a twist like that were to happen, I think I quite like the idea of just having a relatively normal companion, and I really like Belinda Chandra as she is, and I almost don't want them to kind of overcomplicate things by going, actually, she's a future incarnation of the Doctor as well. I don't know. I mean, it would be a very cool twist, and it would be a great workaround if Ncuti Gatwa does leave, but I don't know. I mean, I do remember hearing rumours and reports that, like, there were multiple endings filmed for the Season 2 finale, so let's say, hypothetically, that, like, this could happen. Maybe this is only one potential outcome of the storyline and is not, like, the definitive one, or it could be that, say that they do want to go ahead with this storyline for the season, but Ncuti Gatwa wants to stay on. They could do a thing where, as I suggested, you know, she is the Doctor, but she's the Doctor of another universe, essentially. So she goes back to her own universe at the end of Reality War or something. But obviously, if Ncuti does want to leave and they need another actor pronto, you know, obviously they've already got Varada Sethu already, you know, kind of involved in the show at this point, and basically could hand off the reins to her in that capacity. It's going to make that cinema experience in a few weeks very interesting, because I honestly have no idea where this finale is going to go. Is he going to regenerate at the end? Is it just going to, like, sort of go off into the sunset with everything as normal? Is Belinda Chandra going to end up as the 16th Doctor? Are we going to see a brand new 16th Doctor at the end of the finale? Are they going to announce a Season 3 with Ncuti? I honestly don't know. At this point, anything could happen. To be honest, that's kind of exciting. I mean, I know Russell T Davies wanted to do a surprise regeneration for years. He wanted Christopher Eccleston's regeneration originally to be a surprise, but obviously it couldn't be because of leaks and stuff, so who knows? What do you guys think? Are you pro that idea, or are you against it? No matter what, it looks like we're not going to be waiting too long for answers to some of our questions this season. We're coming up on episode 5, and episode 6 is apparently where stuff goes down. So not long to go now to find out what's been going on. But if you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.